Doing with, I understand you have joined for the Qliksense training. So the idea is, you would have already done some research around Qliksense. So Qliksense is a product from the company Qlik, right? Qlik Tech is a very old company which has been there from 1993. Right now, there are more than 40,000 customers for this organization. Right? There are like a number of organizations across industries, across business functions, and they're quite large deployments for Qlik. So from 1993, so the product that was famous was Qlikview. So there are two products, that is Qlikview, which is the old product that is there. It is still there. Qlikview is a very good product, and that's where most of the 40,000 customers are using the product. And it's an enterprise kind of a product, and it has robust governance capabilities, and it is still famous. So when it came to the modern day technology and the more like last 5 years, whatever is happening in the market. So there's something called as modern BI technologies. For example, Tableau, Power BI, Spotfire. All of these things have changed the game with how self-service is there, how visualization is there. Giving best visualization and all. So to make it more like competitive, Qlik came out with the product Qliksense. This entire product is actually the same as Qlikview. So the backend, the scripting, the way the data works, the way you write the script, the way you make a data model, everything is similar to Qlikview. Only thing, it is built in a way that it is more apt for newer visualization and has much more capabilities than Qlikview, of course, towards how visualization is and how user can interact and how easy it is used, how easy it is for the end user. So it carries the same associative data model, but brings in smart visualizations, which are the key factor for Qliksense. It allows self-service creation. Qlikview was rigid in self-service creation. It brings data storytelling and reporting. It can, because it has a responsive design, so you can build it once and access it anywhere. Mobility, you can customize it, build extensions right within the. You can bring external visualizations within Qliksense, or you could take out Qliksense visualizations into external solutions. Data preparation and integration has become easier, so most of it is Wizard or GUI based. Enterprise scalability and governance allows you to, you can be deployed for enterprise level deployments. Integrate, you can bring in multiple data sources and integrate it. And of course, it can work with big data solutions, wherein you have, you can deploy, you can connect it to any data source that is required and do it. And as far as I have heard, they're working continuously to bring in more and more features. Big data deployments is something that is going to be interesting the way forward. So they have some real interesting visualizations. All right. So why Qliksense? Why is it becoming famous? Right. So if you look at the traditional way of doing BI, right, IT department sits in the center of the entire deployment for in any organization for any BI related things. So what IT department does? So if you look at the left side, which is more report centric or query based kind of solutions, wherein IT department is there. They prepare the data. They're responsible. IT department only builds the analysis and gives it to the end user. Now the end user has the option of consuming the reports or analysis. The end user does not get the option of creating his reports or analysis. Any change or any update, end user has to come back to the IT department and work with them to do anything that they want. Change any changes that they wanted. So that's where Qliksense comes into picture and has changed the ball game, right? So the IT department still is in the center, is responsible for data connection and all, but they don't. I mean, IT department need not create the analysis. It's not pre-built analysis. The end user gets the capability to build their own analysis, build dashboards, search data live, can access it on any device, right? It allows self-service and changes on the fly. That is I mean, for the end user. So end user gets all the power. That's where Qliksense plays the pivotal role. If you look at the architecture, Qliksense is also a very simple architecture. It's a server client architecture. You have a server which connects to the database, and the end users connect to the server. So the data access layer is everything to do with your data. So your data can reside anywhere, right? Application layer is our Qliksense layer. So you're seeing those 4 services, right? So it's again a service-based server. So you see proxy, engine, scheduler, repository. So these 4 services put together form a Qliksense server. So when I mean, basically what you deploy in Qliksense is you get a server, Qliksense server. These are the 4 services you would install. You have to do this on a Windows box. So this is a Windows-based platform only. So all of these services are installed on one box, and they are managed by a Qliksense management console. So you can split these services also onto different servers, right? Physical boxes, I would say, physical Windows boxes, or you could. So there are different kinds of deployments when you go into high-level architecture. And when you have these installed, so the developers do the development through the browser. Now everything in Qliksense is done through a browser, even the development. So for development also, you don't need to have any client or any laptop or anything. So you can connect from your iPad to the server and do development on iPad. So that how intuitive or user, I mean, like easy user interface is available. Right. So proxy is the kind of a web server which manages the user interaction. So the users can connect through any device. Like I said, it can be an iPad, phone, laptop, computer. All of this can be integrated to any of your security mechanisms existing. Like you can have your Active Directory, Windows, existing Windows authentication, or any other security mechanism, single sign-on security mechanism, and you can bring that. So that way you can allow users to access the content that they have to access and control based on the role and all. It's a very, like I said, again, it's a simple architecture. When you go, yeah, of course, when you have enterprise-wide deployments, there are a couple of complex architectures that you go through. That is, again, like I said, for enterprise deployments. But most of the deployments, this is the architecture, and this is as simple as it looks here. Any questions here?
Yes, so this is Ashok. So is the Qliksense is like a replacement of Qlikview? Like, I mean, in future, is a Qlik company is going to invest in only the Qliksense? Like, is it the future product, or the Qlikview is going to be deprecated, like down the line? No, anything?
With that, I would not know. So, but as far as I have seen, I think they are telling. I mean, Qlikview is gonna be there. Yeah, as far as I have read things. So,
Okay.
Qlikview is definitely gonna be there.
So this Qliksense is, let's say you have a Qlikview in your company, and this Qliksense has it's a new thing. It's not just a additional component of Qlikview, right? It has its own architecture. Like, let's say you have a Qlikview in company and you wanted to also adopt to Qliksense, so you need to like build this server and everything. It's a separate thing, right? Entirely.
Yeah, it is a separate thing.
Okay, thanks.
It's a separate licensing and separate. So you need to have a separate physical server for this. So it's everything is separate. Yeah. All right, any other question? Okay, so the course is basically designed to help you understand from the basics of how to connect to various data sources, get data, create data model, and deploy a project. So the training is kind of structured in a project method. So you would be going from the scratch and step by step of how you do it in a project. So the course comprises of two things. One is the developer, second is the designer. Developer has everything to do with bringing in data, creating data model, creating structure, and transforming data, all the scripting part of it, right? Preparing data. So for the designer, I mean, it is basically the front end UI where you create charts, graphs, understand set analysis, build expressions, all of these things. It's gonna be around 25 days course. The idea is every day 1 hour. I'm gonna take you through all of these topics. So you would go back and practice. If there is any questions, you come back for the next session or we continue with the next new topics. The prerequisite, there's no prerequisites as such. So if you know SQL, good, that would be helpful. If you don't know, I think that's okay, but you might have to put in a little extra effort to understand, but that should be fine. So all of these things will cover the basic topics too. So you don't need any Qliksense server for any sort of deploy or practice. You just need a Qliksense desktop client, which is available on qlik.com. So I will share the links for you to download. We'll share the database for the practice session. So you can have both and practice. Even after the session, you can actually have both on your computer and continue to practice.
This is Ashok. I have one question. You said this desktop, right? So does this desktop have any the limitations compared to the actual like the actual version itself? Like you said, the development can be done in a web browser. I think that is when only you have a license, but compared to that, are there any limitations which you cannot do in desktop?
No, not really. That's why I said that you really don't need a server for development. So there's no limitation. All right, to begin with. So like I said, Qliksense has a very basic architecture. So we did see that there's just the users connecting to the browser and doing all the development work they would want to do. So ideally, there are four file types in Qliksense. One is QVF, QED, QEX, and QES. Right? QVF is everything to do with. This is the main file type. You do everything in this file, in this file type, in this file. So anything you do in Qliksense, you will ideally be creating a QVF and doing it. So you would create a file, you would create an app. The app would be stored in a QVF extension, .qvf file. So this is the file that will carry the script to extract, to get the data, the transformations that would have. It will also carry the data in it. And this is the file that will go into the RAM of the server. And this is the file that users will access. Okay, coming to the RAM of the server, which is the RAM that is used? You see this server that I showed, right? So the Qliksense server. So the RAM of this particular server will be utilized. So when we say in memory, it is you create a QVF file. When the users connect, the QVF file will be uploaded into the RAM of this server. That's why it will be, I mean, the QVF is the main file type, which basically does anything and everything in Qliksense. Right? Users will access this. You can schedule it to reload and refresh and get data. QED is a data storage file. compresses data and stores it. It's a data storage file. It does not, I mean, you can no UI, right? You can't open it, or it has to be open in a QEF. It's just a storage file. It's a flat file, I would say. It can store any amount of data. It's a flat file. It can store a tabular data. So it can store only one table at a time. Table in one QED. It can, I mean, one QED can't store more tables. What is the advantage of this? Like I said, it compresses data 1:10 times. So you can understand how. The interesting part is QED can be created by QEF and used by QEF only. So there is no other application that can create a QED. So QED can be created by a QEF and used only by a QEF. QVX is also same thing. So QVX is also a similar file type, but the only thing is QVX can be created by a third-party application. So QVX is more like an exchange file, data exchange file. It is exactly same as QED, right? So same compression ratio, same flat file. It's a flat file. It can store only tabular data, one table at a time, but it can be created by other applications and consumed by other applications. QVS is a script file used. It's again a text file used to store common scripts, reusable scripts. You can store common and reusable scripts. So it's for any parameterization, like, I mean, you don't have to keep, if you're using some script, some business transformation into multiple apps, you don't have to keep doing this. You can reuse this script and do that.
Hi, this is Ashok. Can you go back? I have some questions. I want to understand basics. So the QVF, right? The QVF, it pretty much has the below ones, right? It has carry script, which is kind of QVS, right? It also has a data. So is that the QVF has all these types of file in it?
So QVF is a file type which has, which will have the UI, which will have the data, which will have the transformation. It's the main file type.
Okay.
These are again separate file types. It need not, I mean, it's not that it will have all these file types within it. It's a file, it's basically a file format which has all these capabilities.
Yes. So basically, let's say I have loaded one Excel, right, and created an app. So where would I create the QVD? Like, is it something I would say, hey, okay, for this Excel data, create a file
I'm
type
coming to
called
that. I
QVD?
think
Oh,
you need to a little hold on. So I'm coming to those points. Yeah.
okay, sure. Sorry.
So these are the file types that are there. So these are available. I mean, these are the only 4 file types. There are no other file types or any other challenges that are there, I mean, in the entire solution. So coming to architecture or how these file types are used, right? So let's assume you have a database. So suppose we have a database. So all the data is there. I have a QVF file. So my Qliksense server, I've created a new file. I have my DB. Now the simple architecture or logic of how Qliksense works is from the database, you create this file to pull data and you create all the UI that is related. So ideally this file will have script, will have like transformation, we'll have the data, we'll have the UI that is graphs, charts, everything. And this is the file that users will access. Right. So this is a straight understanding of what a QA, how you work with Qliksense. This is a basic. So there's no QED, there's no QES, QEX, no other three file types. It's only QEF. The basic. This is the basic premise of Qlik Sense, right? So you have the QEF file created, you connect to the data, you get the data and create all these scripts. Now here, QEF, what it does is it always brings in all data from DB. That means QEF can't have incremental. It will always be full refresh. So I created this file. I extracted 1,000 records from this database. Now the file is ready. Now the second day I have a couple of more records in the database. Now again, so if there are 100 more records, so ideally there'll be 1,100 records in the database. So the QEF will, sorry, the QEF will drop all the 1,000 records again, what it read yesterday, and it will bring in freshly those 1,100 records again. So ideally it will always do a full refresh. Now suppose I am creating another QEF. Same file, I mean, maybe a different use case, but it uses similar kind of data. But again, I have to connect to the DB and get data, right? Ideally, these two QVFs are using similar kind of data, but both of them query the database separately. So yeah, this is the basic thing. For simple projects, this is how you would go, where full reload doesn't matter because of the data size is very less. But when you go into larger projects, doing a full refresh every day is crazy load on database. And imagine if you want to refresh this every 1 hour with fresh data from database, then it becomes overhead on the database. So that is not a right thing. And of course, if you want to reuse the same data which has been extracted from DB, you can't. You'll have to create another QVF and extract it. This is not wrong, this architecture. This is a simple architecture. For simple projects, you might end up using this architecture where you don't really want to do anything. But when you go at enterprise level deployments, that's where the challenge arises of reloading your, connecting your transactional DBs continuously again and again for the same kind of data. For that particular reason, Qlikview brought in the intermediate layer. Right, so this layer is called as the QED layer, where you extract data from DB once, store it to QED, and from the QEDs, you allow the QEWs to access it. Right, so this QEW can access it from here. Sorry, QEF can access it there. And this QEF can access from here. But from the DB, ultimately it is only one time that you're extracting the data. You're extracting one time, storing it to QEDs, and do it. So what are QEDs? Again, like I said, it's a flat file, stores tabular data. So what is what does tabular data mean? Suppose I have table 1 here, table 2, table 3, right, so on. So generally, ideally, you begin with creating QEDs for each table. So it will be like almost. So if you understand data warehousing, so it is exactly like data warehousing concepts only. First, you bring all the one-to-one QEDs. So for every table, you create one QED. Right. So on. Now, what is the advantage of having QED? So the QED layer is one is it stores data. So it is only one-time extraction from DB. It is stored in QED format. From the QED format, I read it into our QEF file. So let me come back to this again. All right. So what I was talking was why QED. So you store an intermediate layer. You load data from the DB once, store it into QED, and reuse it in QEF multiple times. The question is, which is faster, this simple method or this two-step method? So that becomes a question. Actually, see, from DB, extraction depends completely on the database. Okay, if the database gives out data fast, then the extraction becomes faster. So the first step that we saw, first architecture, it is always dependent on the database speed. Right? So if the database is allowing data fast, QEF will read data fast and get it. Now, when you come to DB, here also, when you're extracting actually data from DB, it is again the database speed that gives out data. So this speed, QED, DB to QED, will be as good as this first architecture speed. Now, QED to QEF is highly optimized. Okay, so suppose the database to QED takes 1 hour. So this might take hardly a minute. Right? So it is very highly optimized because again, QEDs are compressed, and of course, because the technology is built such a way that QEFs can read faster QEDs. So it becomes faster. Now, how does this turn into an advantage for us? So I spoke to you about full refresh. QEF can do only a full refresh. So QED, when you have a QED layer, and because a QED is a storage file, you can build incremental load process here. So what is incremental load process? So from table 1, on the day 1, I have 1,000 records. Okay, let's say 10,000 records. So I created a QED with 10,000 records. Okay, just to give you an understanding of what is the time that generally takes. So this took, let's assume this took 30 minutes to load 10,000 records into a QED of 10,000 records. From a QED to QEF, I would say it will take 1 minute. So my first day reload is 30 minutes plus 1 minute. It becomes 31 minutes. Coming to second day. Second day, along with 10,000 records, I have another 1,000 extra records. So I have 11,000 records. Now this second day, because I have already stored 10,000 records in the first thing, I'm just going to extract 1,000 records. That might take me 3 minutes. And I'm going to add this 1,000 to this 10,000 records in the QED. Right, so my QED gets 11,000 records. Now for QED to QEF, I spend only 1 minute. So ideally from second day onwards, to get the complete new data, I am spending only 4 minutes. Otherwise, in this kind of a scenario, in the first architecture, I would spend 30 minutes every day. And based on the size that keeps increasing, data size, my time consumption also keeps increasing. So I keep spending a lot of time extracting data. But here, I've optimized first day to be, yes, it takes a little more time, but second day onwards, it hardly takes 4 minutes to extract the entire data. So this way I can optimize my complete extraction process. Yes, incremental load, you can do all of your type 1, 2, 3 kind of transformations where historical data, delete, update data, add new records, all of those things. Okay, Akhilaf, Ashok, Prakash, Sangu, Vijay, are you able to follow what I'm trying to tell, all these data warehousing concepts and all? And does anyone has experience or no experience in this?
Yeah, it's quite fine to understand. Yeah, so I'm new to this quick sense. Yeah.
Yep. While I continue, if you could just, everyone, if you could give me a brief. I thought you guys were from yesterday's session, and yesterday we had an introduction. I think all of them were new except for Ashok. So if you could give me a brief introduction, what your experience is and what you're looking for, that would be great. Then we'll continue. Anyone can start.
Yeah, Prakash this side. Yeah. Are you able
Yeah,
to
yeah,
hear? Yeah, so I
yeah. I
have
can hear
around
you. Go
10
ahead.
plus year, 10 plus year of experience in other BI tools, primarily in BO and all. So I'm new to this tool. So just trying to understand. I thought it would be good to get some kind of formal training to start with here.
Okay. Yeah, Akhilaf, I think you were trying to tell something. I can't hear you actually, or we can't hear you. All right, I think they have some technical challenge. Sangu, I see you're offline. Vijay, you're okay. We'll continue. Any other question around this?
Yes. Hey, this is Ashok. So, I mean, so this the QVD, right? It's kind of an intermediary which is to Qliksense to read from the tables. So I'm just wondering, in a Qliksense, um, with the capability of scripting, right? We can do a lot of transformations and stuff like that. So I'm just thinking, like, for the Qliksense projects, is there any ETL involvement, the ETL tools, Informatica and other things, right, for the ETL? So it seems to me that the Qliksense can do a lot of ETL on its own. So can you give some thought, uh, and shed some light on that?
Yeah, exactly. So your point is right. So Qliksense can do majority of ETL. That's why I think Qliksense, what they say is if you have a data warehouse, good. If you don't have a data warehouse, then also they are good. So they are not very specific or adamant on the data warehouse part of it.
I
But
think it is like if you
so
have your data warehouse, it is good. Even if you don't have your data warehouse, it is really good. The
so
way
yeah, you don't have to invest. Yeah, you don't have to invest on one. So that's the advantage and idea. Right. So the next, so as coming to that, actually, I was trying to give you a perspective as to what exactly all of these things mean. So what is the advantage, major advantage of getting this QED into the game plan, right? So the idea is, again, this is too much. So the idea is you can build the entire data warehousing concept here. For example, if you look it in a data warehouse, so if you have QEDs, so you'll get the base ones, then transform it, right? So it is all about transformations, however you want to. So all these multiple QEDs, you can, because these are single tables that you get, right? You can process them into all that joins, loops, transactions, transformations, and process them into various QEDs that you'd want to, based on your business requirement. So the entire DW concept you can apply here.
So this is like Ashok again. Sorry to ask you a lot of questions. I'm just curious, I guess. So typically in the current market, it seems like the Qliksense has a lot of capabilities to build the warehouse and stuff. So what is the current trend in the market for the Qliksense projects? Is it that the building the data warehouse using the Qliksense for that particular project, or going the traditional way using the tables one-to-one, the first step, and from there it directly the Qview, that is the app?
So see, I would not consider this to be a replacement to DW. Okay, DW has a totally different use case. So generally what organizations have been doing is, they, for any BI related stuff, they use a DW. Okay,
Yes.
so they ideally, any kind of related BI related projects, the first thing users think is a DW, data warehouse. So ideally, if you are building a data warehouse only for BI and you already have bought Qliksense, then no, I have not seen organizations investing in a DW. But if you go to a banking organization where DW is used for multiple other projects,
Yes.
BI is one part of
Downstreams.
it, but yeah, DW is used for their downstream applications, or their process related applications. So there, in those scenarios, DW is required, because Qliksense doesn't give these QEDs that you're seeing can be used only by Qlik. So these are
Yes.
not like a database that you can fire query from a third party solution. So in that projects, yes, the companies have, like banking and all, they go with DWs. But majority of the organizations, the other normal organizations who are building a DW only for BI, I've not seen them build. So that's where actually, if you look at Qliksense, it goes at enterprise level deployments, and there's a lot of customers apart from Tableau. So if you ask me about Power BI Tableau competition versus Qliksense, the biggest advantage for Qliksense is they are bigger projects. So Tableau and all just go into smaller teams. Like companies buy Tableau, but they buy in a lot of 4 user, 5 user, wherein one department user will use it because the company already has some database and the project is done. But if you look at Qliksense and Qlikview projects, they span towards years. Yes, it is very easy to develop. So each application, right, can be developed within 3-4 weeks. Okay, but the number of applications that each organization develops is so much that the Qliksense project span over 6-7 months, and it's a ongoing project that always is there. So I would not call this as a DW, so because the terminology might become wrong and might confuse people. My explanation method is that, okay, this concept of DW can be applied here, but I would not call this as a data warehouse. There's still a kind of a Qliksense specific data storage. Right, I think this is what I had for the session. The idea is we're going to have every day 1 hour session. So I'm going to take you through topics. Like I said, we're going to discuss these architectures. I mean, this is pretty much the architecture theoretical thing. But yeah, we'll start off with our practical sessions during our session. So if you are okay, maybe you can go ahead and give your feedback to Ashwini and enroll for the sessions, and we'll quickly start off a batch. And we'll continue with all the other topics. Is that good?
Yes. So this is Ashok. Yeah. Thank you for demoing. So I have a question regarding the class schedule. So is it going to be the same 9:30 p.m. Or like when we actually sign up for the class, or how, like what days of the week, and can you explain a little bit about that?
So it will be 5 days a week, so 5 working days. You are calling from which place, Ashok?
Yeah, I'm from New Jersey.
New Jersey. Yeah, then for you it will be Monday to Friday evening. So
Okay.
it'll be 5 days a week. Yeah.
Okay.
It'll be the same time that you joined today. Maybe we can advance it by an hour depending on the availability. But what I see is it's gonna be same time.
Okay. So how long it will last? 1 hour, 1.5?
1 hour, 1 hour.
1 hour. Okay.
Yeah,
And for
1 hour
how many
here.
weeks?
Yeah.
How many weeks?
So I see this to be around 4 weeks if you take 5 days. So 25 days is what I assume is the time that I would need to cover. So in case we go through topics quickly, then I can do this in 20 to 22 days. So 4 weeks you can keep it, 4 to 5 weeks.
Okay. So the other thing is for the each class, do we get any kind of material in case if we missed, or
So
just
the
to refer back
material,
after the course?
yeah, so all of these sessions will be recorded and you'll get the recorded sessions. So there is no hard material. So I'll be honest. So most of the material is available online. So I would just be doing copy paste. I would not do that. So you can refer. I mean, I would share the resources where it is available.
Yep.
But for the session, everything is recorded. So you would get the recording for every session. That would be your like actual material for the training. So you can refer back to the sessions. You can have them, download them, have them. Yeah.
Okay. Is there anything we need to, we need to know? Just like a prep work before the actual class?
Yeah, so I would share few links for you to go through some concepts. So like SQL, like I said, so basic concepts. I think that should be good. Apart from that, there
Okay.
is some installation and all. So if you enroll, I'll share all the links for installation. So you'll be able to do that, and that should be good.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, everybody. Thank you. Thank you for joining the session.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Thanks.
Thanks. Thanks.